So you want to make sure that your podcast formats actually align with your goals. When you do that, you just record your show with ease because you are doing something that you love that comes from the self. All right, so that's what we're going to be looking at in this part of the course. We want to make sure that we are in line with the goal and the show, and no one is missing out. So to try to choose a format that helps you work towards your goal. For example, are you using your podcast to reach a new audience? Are you trying to grow your audience? Are you trying to make more sales? What exactly is the goal for the podcast that you want to start or that you've started? All right. Then you want to make sure that you bring in different guests each week who can share the podcast with their own audience. This in turn will actually amplify your reach to a larger audience. So we are trying to be sure that you are in line with your goal at the same time you're growing your podcast. Your podcast take many formats, but to help you start right, we'll look at 6 type formats so that you are one way or the other picking yourself in one or two of these formats. So the first one is the interview format. Okay, the interview format. When you think of a podcast, most time when I talk with my students, the first question is that, okay, what's a podcast? Oh, it's like an interview. And that is very true to a certain extent. Most time when we think of podcast, we think of interview. Okay, so the interview podcast format is probably one of the first one that come to mind every time you ask for the meaning of the podcast. All right, so interview guest is arguably the most common podcast format with a consistent host or host talking to a new guest each week. So what that means is that you bring in new guests from different perspectives to talk on your show. If it's weekly, if it's monthly, if you are going to be, that will help you to actually amplify the different perspective to your show and will help you grow faster and of course spice up your show. The second one is the conversational type, right? The co-host kind of, where you have a friend of yours or a colleague of yours or a coach like you or an expert like you, but both of you come together periodically, depending on the time that you choose to record your show, to talk about a particular topic that is still in line with your goal. Okay, so conversational podcasts have a couple of hosts that spend each episode talking on a particular topic. It feels like a casual discussions most time because you guys are within the same sphere of expertise and you're talking about it as if you're chit-chatting between friends, and is the preferred format for ever-growing list of celebrities. Celebrities are actually leveraging on this because it helps them, like the chit-chat, that kind of talk kind of thing goes away. So all right, so this is the second one, and this you might be considering. The third top format is the educational podcast, and this can be similar to an interview or conversational podcast, but they focus on teaching about a topic such as growing your business or improving your painting skills or growing your social media audience or creating your first online course or learning your French language in 1 year. All right, so on this type of format, you are educating your audience. So you might be considering picking up this as your format. The fourth one is the solo podcast, and this one I kind of like this. So as you're listening to this recording right now, this is like a solo podcast, okay, where it is only you, no co-host, no worries, no trying to be sure that the audio is okay from the other end. You're just good on your own, doing your own thing at your own vibe. Do you understand? All right. So the solo podcasting is an easy way to start, since you don't need a co-host or you don't need to connect to someone or with someone from the other side of the planet. All you need is an idea, your passion, basic recording equipment, and a free hosting platform. Like I use Anchor currently, so like Anchor, you can just download Anchor, and on the mic, you're good to go. So you would have seen the tutorial of how to use Anchor on the other videos that I've sent to you on this course. Now, the option 5, the format 5, is the non-fiction storytelling, kind of like news. Okay, so not sure how to come up with a new topic each week. You could create a podcast that follow a true story, right? Or share the latest updates in your niche, or just listen to news to get new ideas. So this is a non-fiction storytelling kind of format. If you like reviewing things, if you like weighing in your own opinion on different topic in your niche, this might be one that you want to consider. Then the format 6 is the fiction writer kind of format, where you have the podcast theater. All right, so fiction writers here, they like this format because it's like a radio show of years past. You can use a podcast to tell a fictional story over audio episode. Okay, so instead of being a video format, you can actually use the audio episode. And I have this episode from a particular show that I listen to. I can't come up with the name right now, but when you listen to it, you feel as if you are in the movie. Okay, so if you are a fiction writer and you want to podcast, this is the perfect one for you, where you can create a new story for your podcast or recreate the existing work in a new format every week, every month, depending on how often you've chosen to show up. So I hope you have actually found one of these. Okay, I hope you have actually found one of these useful for you on which one to pick for your own show. I use the conversational format, I use the solo format, I'm not sure I use the fiction one. No, I don't use that because I do more of teaching on my own shows. So if you already have a ton of video content or blog posts to consider, you want to repurpose them into creating them in audio version, this is like a bonus tip. So you want to consider adding them up and just creating the audio format for the auditory kind of learner or listeners. You will be eating this home straight, and I hope you found one of these formats plus this bonus very, very useful, and I hope by now you've made up your mind on which format to use for your show. Wow, thank you so much for listening in once again. And my name is Metina at Oyetele. Stay tuned, and we'll see in the next video.